are live. What is up, fight nerds and dirty gamblers? I am Erik, and this is Erik Bets Fights. And I just realized I don't have my microphone in front of me. Hold on a second. I was unprepared. This is the only way in which I didn't even check my audio. This isn't the only way in which I'm unprepared for this show. I'm also like literally unprepared as far as the prep work, but I don't know if anybody's here to tell me if that sounds okay. Probably not. I totally didn't check my audio or anything. Usually I'm all ready to go on this stuff. Not so much today. That's all right. This is just kind of a fun little hangout version of the show, all right? All right, anyway, welcome to Big Money Bets, the Thursday night show where I typically bring a guest on and we go over our favorite big money props and parlays for the upcoming UFC card. It's Thursday night. That means the fights are less than 48 hours away. We usually come on. It's a bit of a party. We have some fun. I was actually, I was thinking about, the reason I didn't book a guest is because I was traveling this past weekend. And my usual tape study days are Sunday and Monday. And I was still on my trip on Sunday and Monday. So I was like, you know, I don't really know when I'm going to get tape study done. I'm just going to have to squeeze it in here and there. I don't even know if I'm going to be done with it by Thursday. So I just didn't book a guest. And then I decided, you know, I actually do have my tape study done as of today. It was pretty surface. Like I wasn't able to dig back as far as I wanted to because I just didn't have time. But I did as much tape study as I could squeeze in on each fight anyway. And then I was like, you know what the heck? I've got it done. I'm just kind of sitting here hanging out. I didn't actually schedule this or put it out there. That's why nobody's here probably, but that's all good. I don't mind. So I just decided I'd pop on by myself and do just kind of a quick little version of the show. Like I said, didn't do as much research as I'd like. Not as prepared as I'd like to be. Basically, I'm giving you all the reasons that you shouldn't watch the show. Why do I insist on doing that? But anyway, let's go ahead and start with a recap of last week's event because it did actually go pretty well. So for those of you who haven't seen the show before, what we typically do, we give out a 2-leg parlay, and then we build onto that for a 4-leg parlay, and then we build onto that for a 6-leg parlay, and then we give out our 6 favorite prop bets for the card. So last week, I hit the 2-leg parlay, I hit the 4-leg parlay, and I got a little risky on the 6-legger. I put an underdog in there, and that bit me, and the underdog didn't win. So the 2-legger was Movsar Evloev, Jeff Molina. So that one hit. We got a little bit lucky with the Molina decision, potentially. But the next leg was Damon Jackson, or the legs to turn it into 4 were Damon Jackson and Alexander Volkov at minus 475 and minus 155. And then to get it up to 6, I added Alonzo Menafield at minus 160 and Johnny Munoz at plus 115. I was thinking that, you know, obviously I wasn't expecting Tony Grappley to get that KO quickly, hoping that Munoz would get a chance to work on the ground and that he'd potentially find a submission. That was kind of my read there, but certainly didn't come to fruition. But, you know, when you hit 5 of the 6 legs, hit the 2-legger, hit the 4-legger, got to feel pretty okay about that. And then as far as the 6 props that I gave out, I actually did hit 2 of them. So that was pretty awesome. One of them was Alonzo Menafield by KO TKO in round 1, which is at plus 300. He did get Askar Mozharov out of there by TKO in round 1. So we hit that plus 300. I also had Karine, whatever her name is, Karine Silva by submission at plus 550. And she did get that sub. So we hit that plus 550. So overall, feeling pretty good about the bets I gave out last week. Let's go ahead and move into what we've got for next week's card. For the 2-leg parlay, like I said, this is going to be a quick version of the show. I'm not going to go deep as I might usually into the breakdowns and the reads as far as what I'm thinking on these fights or why I'm picking these bets. If you want to hear more, kind of deep analysis, you want to hear me go into a little deeper into these fights and my reasoning for feeling the way I do about them. If you go over to the Never Hedge Media YouTube channel, I did put out a full breakdown of the main card, and I'm going to try to get a breakdown out of the preliminary card as well. But I went like 45, 50 minutes on just the 5 fights on the main card, so I did get into quite a bit of detail with those. So do check that out over on the Never Hedge Media YouTube channel. Give us a subscription over there if you would, please. Anyway, the 2-legger, I'm going first with Brendan Allen at minus 290. These lines are from William Hill. I just pulled them earlier today, I think. I think Brendan Allen is the better fighter everywhere. I think Jacob Malkoun's only shot to win is is the wrestling pretty much. I think what he's got on Allen, he's got the wrestling and he's got better cardio. Brendan Allen is definitely the better striker. Brendan Allen is good off his back. He's a good scrambler. So, even if Malkoun is looking for the wrestling, I don't necessarily think he's going to be able to keep Brendan Allen down and hold him down. So I do like Brendan Allen there. I did also bet him straight earlier when he was at like minus 210. And for my second leg, we're getting a little bit risky already here with a minus 155, but I went with Jack Della Maddalena. Like I said, it is a little bit risky. Ramazani Mayev, he's going to try to wrestle here. Jack Della Maddalena is going to try to strike. I think when they're on the feet, I think Jack Della Maddalena is going to have it everywhere on him. I really, really like Jack Della Maddalena's boxing a lot. And I think he's going to look fantastic on the feet here. Like I said, Mayev is going to try to wrestle, but we've seen Jack do pretty well in that regard. He's got decent takedown defense, and even if he's not able to defend the takedown, in the Anže Lusa fight, we saw him have a really, really uncanny ability to. I explain it almost like it's almost like Aikido in a way, or like judo, but more like Aikido, I guess. But he has that ability to, if his opponent comes in with like a high amplitude takedown, he's able to use that energy against them and sometimes even end up on top himself or just scramble out of that situation. So he's a pretty good scrambler. He's pretty good at getting up off his back. I honestly think Mayev is maybe a little bit overrated as a wrestler anyway. He's got that name that ends in EV, but I don't know that he necessarily lives up to it all the way. So I do like Jack Della Maddalena there. So if we do the two-legger, Brendan Allen and Jack Della Maddalena, that comes out to plus 121. What I try to do is get at least even money if I can, or pretty close on that two-legger. So plus 121 right there. Got me a root beer here. Moving on to the four-leg parlay. So adding to Brendan Allen and Jack Della Maddalena, going a little risky again here. I'm actually skipping some of the really big favorites here. I'm not touching Valentina at the like minus 600 or whatever she's at. I'm gonna stay away from some of those bigger lines. So these parlays are a little bit riskier. But the third leg we're gonna add is Whaley Zhang at minus 160. I'm not going to go into this one too much. I went really deep into this one on that main event breakdown that I dropped on the Never Hedge Media channel yesterday, I think it was. So this is my little planting the seed of go watch that video. But I do have some what I feel are some pretty compelling reasons to really like Whaley Zhang in this particular matchup, and I'm not going to go into them. There you go. There's my tease. And I went with an underdog already for the fourth leg. I went with Ramona Pascual. When I was doing the tape on this fight, I went back and forth on it. I still, I can't say I'm confident in Ramona Pascual, but this is one of those fights where I'm confident that Ramona Pascual has the skills to win this fight. If you've watched my videos before, one thing I say a lot is we have to bet on what a fighter will do, not on what a fighter can do. So often we'll see a fighter have a very clear path to victory, and they just don't take that path to victory. And we don't know why. We can't get into their heads. But I think if Ramona Pascual really pushes the wrestling early and often here, I think she can win this fight. I don't fully trust her to do that, but she's been working at Syndicate MMA for I think over a year now. She should have a pretty solid game plan. Hey, it's Lou just popped in here. What's going on, Lou? I lost my train of thought there. First of all, I had Ramona Pascual on the brain already, and we all know how I feel about Ramona Pascual. And then Lou pops in here, and so now I'm all flustered. Anyway, yeah, Ramona Pascual is my fourth leg. If I think of what the heck I was going to say about her, I know what I was going to say about her. And it's kind of weird, and maybe it was just specific to the fights I watched. And, obviously she's only had one fight in the UFC, so there might have been some UFC jitters and that kind of thing. But I feel like, and maybe she even does it. How sometimes a fighter will feint a takedown just to get that in their opponent's head. Maybe that's what she's doing. I don't know. But sometimes Ramona Pascual will shoot a terrible takedown. It's telegraphed. It's slow. It's too far away. She doesn't get in on the hips. She doesn't change levels enough. Like she'll just shoot a really not half-assed, like a quarter-assed takedown. And then sometimes you might see her shoot a couple of those really awful takedowns, and then all of a sudden she'll just perfectly time a takedown and just drive right through the hips and take her opponent down. And so I don't know. Yeah, like while I was talking through that, I was like, maybe this actually makes sense. Maybe she is just feinting crappy takedowns and then going for the good. I don't know. Whatever it is, though, she's capable of shooting really good takedowns at times. So if she's able to shoot those good takedowns consistently, I think she does have pretty good top control, pretty good top pressure. I think she can win a decision here. I need you to tell me what to bet so I can plagiarize it tomorrow for my show. I'm crazy unprepared. Lou, I was just talking at the top of the show right before you popped out. I was talking about how I am unprepared for this show. I talked to you earlier today about how I wasn't even going to do it. Yeah, this is kind of a short version. I'm not even going to go into my reasoning that much on stuff because I'm not really ready either, but that's all right. Okay. So that four-legger again, Brendan Allen, Jack Della Maddalena, Whaley Zhang, and Ramona Pasquale. That gets us up to plus 762. That one guy pops in here. Batgary. I just watched the tape on that fight like an hour or two ago. I didn't get super deep into it. I only watched a little bit, but I do like Batgary in that fight. Not like, super confidently, but I do like Batgary there. All right, moving on to the sixth. Or wait, yeah, all right. So the sixth legger. So we've got Allen, Della Maddalena, Zhang, Pasquale. We're going to add to that. Man, I kept going back and forth on who I wanted to put in to finish out the sixth legger here. I decided to go with Steve Garcia at minus 180. I've seen Mahashat as like a little bit of a popular underdog pick from some folks, some sharp folks, maybe some not so sharp folks too. But I've seen people on Mahashat here, Mahashat, however you say it. I did bet him on his Contender Series fight, and he was at what, plus 350, plus 450, something like that. I did bet him in that fight, so that was nice. He's already cashed a big one for me, but so I watched what, actually I guess it was what was the opponent's name? Nikolai Goncharov, something like that. He was actually Mahashate's, his very first pro opponent. So this was in like 2019. So, or I think, and Mahashate would have been like, 19, 20 years old, something like that. Bert pronounced it Mahashet. I like that. I saw it on Instagram. Well, I'm going to go with Bert. Bert knows what he's doing. Bert, it's either John Anik or Bert that you got to listen to on the pronunciations. But yeah, I watched Mahashet. I watched his first pro fight, and it was against a guy who just grappled the hell out of him. He was able to get the takedowns pretty easily, but Mahashet actually looked pretty good off his back. He looked scrambly. He was using his guard well. He was keeping really busy, not accepting the position, trying to get up. He was able to scramble out. He was able to get up, but the guy that he was fighting was 1-1 as a pro, and he just wasn't really that good. He would get the takedowns, but he didn't have super tight top pressure. He didn't really have great top control. So it was one of those fights where as I was watching it, I was like, all right, Mahashat's looking pretty good off his back here. He's able to get up pretty well here, but how much of that is actually him having a solid game in that regard? And how much of that is actually the fact that his opponent just isn't staying real tight to him with the top control? And I do think Steve Garcia is, he's not necessarily Khabib or anything, but he does have pretty solid top control. He does stay pretty tight. He doesn't give his opponent a whole lot of room to work. He will try, speaking of Khabib, he will try to do that Khabib grapevine thing with the legs. So yeah, I do think Steve Garcia probably will be able to get the takedowns here, and probably will be able to hold Mahashat down for probably a decision. On the feet, it could be a little hairy. Mahashat does look good on the feet, but yeah, I do like Steve Garcia here. And finally, the sixth leg, I went with my girl Na Liang at plus 120. I'm just going to read to you what I typed in my notes for my reasoning on this fight. I put Silvana Gomez-Juarez isn't very good. Na Liang does gas out pretty badly, but I think she might be able to submit Gomez-Juarez before that happens. Silvana Gomez-Juarez has lost in the first round twice in a row. Let's make it 3. That's all and actually I'm going to go into that a little bit more when we get a little bit further forward here. But so that's six legger, which is again Brendan Allen, Jack Della Maddalena, Whaley Zhang, Ramona Pasquale, Steve Garcia, and Na Liang, gets us up to plus 2852. My buddy Jared says, "Is this the Ramona Appreciation Society meeting?" It is. Yes, I'm glad you're here. I was the only one at first, and I was like, surely I can't be the only one. Also, I was under the impression that Ramona's fight was at 135. So I was a little bummed because I thought she was going to be having to drop a little bit of the junk in the trunk for this fight, but it turns out it is at 145. I just realized that my wife is standing right outside the door right now, and she's probably hearing what I'm saying. That's okay. She loves me for who I am. Anyway, let's go on to the second portion of the show. Man, I didn't bring a guest on, but I feel like I have guests because Lou's in here. He's been one of my guests before. My buddy Jared's in here. He's a friend of mine from high school that I talk to about fights a lot. I basically got two guests right now. You guys just aren't on camera. That's all right. Also, there's 8 people in here watching right now, which is pretty cool, considering I didn't put anything out there. I think the most I've ever had is 9, so we're damn near there. Anyway, let's move on to the prop section of the show. So for this part of the show, I give out my 6 favorite prop bets. I start on the one with the lowest payout, and I build my way up to the one with the biggest, craziest payout. Speaking of Ramona Pascual and how much I love her, my first prop bet is Ramona Pascual by decision at plus 300. I did bet her money line as well. I think I got her at plus 150, and I really think that decision is her best path to victory here. Excuse me, or her most likely outcome here, and getting that at plus 300 when her money line is plus 350, or excuse me, plus 150, seems like a pretty good bet here. I already kind of gave my reasoning behind this one. As long as Ramona focuses on really pushing the wrestling early and often, I think she should be able to find a decision here. Next up, we just talked about this a little bit too, but my next one is Na Liang by sub in round 1, which was at plus 400. Man, I wonder if I grabbed that line earlier because I feel like that line probably isn't that juicy anymore. But yeah, Na Liang by sub in round 1, plus 400. I should add, I get my prop lines from BetOnline, and BetOnline often has the worst prop lines. If you can get them on DraftKings or FanDuel, they're usually a lot better. But I live in Vegas, and in Nevada, I can't use FanDuel or DraftKings. So I give out the BetOnline odds just because that's the book that I'm able to use. Lou says it's plus 375 now. That's really not too bad. I figured it would have probably dropped a little bit. That's not bad. But yeah, so to add to what I said earlier, for Na Liang by sub in round 1, what I put in my notes here, Silvana Gomez Juarez has been armbarred in the first round in her last 2 fights. Before the Carnelosi loss, Na Liang won 2 fights in a row by armbar in the first round. So there we go. In the last 5 fights that these two have taken part in, Silvana Gomez Juarez has lost by armbar in the first round twice. Na Liang has won by armbar in the first round twice. What else do you need to know? Na Liang by armbar in the first round, plus 400. Well, by sub in the first round. If you've got one of those books that will juice that line up a little bit for an armbar, I'd say go for it. Next up, we're bumping from plus 400 up to plus 450. I've got Rogerio Bontorin by sub. I do favor Manel Kape to win this fight, but I think that's a pretty decent line for if they do spend a lot of time on the ground. Manel Kape is a good wrestler. He's got good takedown defense. He's got decent stand-ups, but Bontorin is definitely the better grappler here. I think the better submission fighter. So if they do spend a lot of time on the ground, Bontorin he's pretty slick. He's pretty good at floating from position to position, and I could see him potentially finding the back and getting that neck. Erik, you got dibs on Ramona, bro? People want to know. Well, she does live in Vegas, and I live in Vegas. I shouldn't think about that too much. I think I'll tell you this, Aaron. I think she seems like a very nice girl, and I'd love to interview her on my YouTube channel sometime. Dibs? No, I can't say that I do, unfortunately. But yeah, my third bet again is Rogerio Bontorin by sub plus 450. Next up, we're going to jump up from plus 450 to plus 600 or plus 800 even on some books, although this one's a little bit outdated as well. This might have changed. Again, like I said, I use BetOnline, so the line I've got is plus 600, but I know it was up at plus 800 in some books. Lou Betya is in here. I got to give him a little props for this one, actually, because he's the one who pointed it out to me. Jacob Malkoun by decision. I do have a money line bet on Brendan Allen, but I did hedge with a little bit on Jacob Malkoun by decision because this is one of the spots, kind of like I said with Ramona Pascual. Her money line is plus 150. If she's going to win, it's probably going to be a decision, and you can get that at plus 300. Malkoun, I'm not sure what Malkoun's money line is at right now, but it's nowhere near plus 600 or plus 800. And I really can't see him winning any other way. So, it's almost like you're getting Jacob Malkoun's money line at plus 600 or plus 800 or thereabouts. So, and like I said, Brendan Allen is the better fighter, but Malkoun will look to wrestle hard. And he's one of those guys, you've probably heard me talk about, if you've watched my videos, that the kind of holy trinity of traits that I like to bet on. And that's a fighter who has wrestling skill, who has the tenacity and the desire to push the wrestling consistently, and also has the cardio to push the wrestling consistently. Malkoun is one of those fighters. That is a fighter that I typically like to bet on. So even though I do think Allen is the better fighter here in almost every regard, and I did bet on him, Malkoun is that guy who's going to push the wrestling, and Allen is the guy that can slow down. So we could potentially see Malkoun find a decision here. Greek Spartan says, did they cancel the press conference? I'm afraid I don't know anything about that. If anybody in the chat knows, to be quite honest with you, I don't watch press conferences or anything like that. I don't think I've ever watched a press conference. Yeah, I'm weird like that. I don't know. I don't really watch interviews. I don't really watch press conferences. As soon as the fights are done, I turn it off. Like as soon as the last fight is done, I don't watch the post-fight show stuff. I don't watch any of that stuff. I don't know why. I just don't have much interest in it, I guess. All right, so we're moving from Jacob Malkoun by decision at plus 600. We're jumping all the way up to plus 1,100 for my fifth prop bet. This is one I like quite a bit, and I probably will. I don't always bet all of these. I do bet some of them, and this is one that I probably will bet. Jack Della Maddalena by KO in round 3 at plus 1,100, and might even be better than that on FanDuel or DraftKings. I like Della Maddalena to win this fight. I lean toward thinking it's probably going to be a decision, but he's one of those guys who puts out so much output. Obviously, it's only a 2-fight sample size, but if I remember correctly, his striking stats, he attempts 17.1 significant strikes per minute, which might be the highest I've seen in the amount of time that I've been doing this and I've been watching those stats. That might be the highest I've seen. Like I said, only a 2-fight sample size, but he throws 17 significant strikes per minute. That's he's a guy who not only has excellent boxing skills, really fast and accurate hands, but he will put that volume out there. And I love to see that. What is Lou saying? Sorry, Erik, I had to hop off the stream for a second because Bird MMA is doing an Ask Me Anything. Any chance you have to ask a true pro questions, you take it? Absolutely, Lou. Let us know what you asked him. So yeah, Jack Maddalena by KO in round 3. Like I said, I like him to win a decision, but he's that guy who he will. He's putting out pretty good volume right in the start even, but he's one of those guys who will come a lot more. He'll put out more and more volume, and he's very accurate, and he can land and land and land. He doesn't have that one-punch KO power, but he's got that Diaz style, that Max Holloway style, where he's going to, once he kind of gets his range figured out, once he gets his timing figured out, he'll just land and land and land, and he can, once he finds that button, he can keep finding it, and we could see him, maybe one of those spots where Imaev has his back on the cage and Jack Della Maddalena just cranks it up and even gets a standing TKO ref stoppage, something like that. So I do like that sprinkle on him to win in KO by round 3 at plus 1,100. And already at the final prop bet, jumping up to plus 1,400. This is another one that I will probably bet, put a little bit on. Glover Teixeira by sub in round 2 at plus 1,400. Actually, after I get off the stream, one thing I've been wanting to do is to sit down and really spend some time with that fight, with the Teixeira versus Prochazka fight, and kind of figure out a strategy. I think there's a lot of interesting props and different ways that you could probably play this fight to almost guarantee yourself some profit if you sprinkle a variety of different props. And I kind of need to sit down and I feel like I'm going to look like that meme of that lady with the symbols and numbers swirling around her head. I'm going to sit down and try to do that with this fight and see what I figure out. But the one I wanted to give out here is Glover Teixeira by sub in round 2 at plus 1,400. I think if Glover can survive round 1, I think Jiri's going to be pouring it on him. And probably, early in round 2 as well. But I think, a guy that fights the way Jiri does, a guy that is that big and is that aggressive and really kind of puts his everything into everything, he's likely going to start to slow down. And we could see that old man strength start to take over. We could see that come to bear and we could see Glover being able to get the clinch, drag Jiri to the ground, and potentially work for a sub. You know, I am going to sprinkle that. I'm also going to end up sprinkling some Jiri KO props, I think, too. Like I'm gonna find some ways to attack this fight. We got a couple chats again. Jared, I'm in Minnesota and have bets on Vegas and Jersey this weekend. Can't wait. Oh yeah, nice. Bets in, yeah. And Addicted to Combat. Patrick, Erik, what's up, man? I tell you what, Patrick, I'm feeling good. It's Thursday night. I decided to do a quick solo version of the show tonight. I'm actually done already. I decided to go through it kind of quick. I gotta go spend some time with my wife and get off my computer. You guys know how it is. Those of you who are content creators, you work, and then after you're done working, you work some more. And yeah, I gotta give it a rest. I have to hop on another live stream at 9:00 tomorrow morning. So that's the life that we live, right? Awesome. Well, I think I'm gonna call it there, fellas. I'll be back to the normal version of the show next week. I will have a guest coming on. I do have one guy that I've asked, and he's a maybe, and he's going to let me know. So I don't know for sure who that guest is going to be yet, but I will have somebody coming on. And some of the folks that are in the chat right now have already been guests on my show, and I'll definitely be getting back to them again as well. Good stuff, bro. Good luck. And thank you so much, Aaron. I appreciate that. Good luck to you as well. I think that's going to be it, folks. I am Erik with Erik Bets Fights. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure to check me out on Twitter. You're already checking me out here on YouTube. Give me a like, give me a comment, give me a subscription if you haven't yet. Also, check me out over on the Never Hedge Media YouTube channel. I drop some of my stuff over there. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram, all over the place. Lou says, good show, Erik. As always, I will give you no credit when I steal your picks tomorrow. I did. I don't know if you were off the stream when you were over at Bert's League. I did give you credit for one of my picks today, but you're going to have to watch it back if you didn't see it. But thank you so much for being here, everybody. Enjoy the fights at UFC 275 this weekend, and take care.